If you're a second grade teacher and you've been wanting to start the Daily 5, you're in the right spot today because I'm going to break down what Daily 5 can look like in your second grade classroom and get you going for the beginning of the school year. Hi, my name's Molly, and I'm a fifth grade teacher who's also taught kindergarten and first grade. And I love sharing with you ways to make the Daily 5 accessible and help you streamline your literacy block so you can get to all of your reading groups. And I know for a fact that second grade is one of the best grades, not because I've taught it, but because every teacher that's ever taught second grade loves second grade. So let me know in the comments below if that's you. It's on my list of grades I'd like to teach one day. I'm just in fifth grade now and I love fifth graders, but kindergarten and first grade is the building blocks to second grade. And so everything I'm going to tell you today is going to help you set up Daily 5. I'm just going to run through what the stations look like and give you some tips and tricks that have helped in all the grades that I've taught. And now seeing the spectrum of K all the way to 5, I see where the kids are headed. And whatever I've done in fifth grade Daily 5 was very similar to kindergarten and first grade. The difference was just the activities, but the structure is the same. Daily 5 is a structure for your literacy block. It's not the instruction. Okay, so I want to start by sharing with you how to introduce the stations. Of course, you can buy the Daily 5 book. It is my teacher Bible, and I go through it every single year. I encourage you to do that, but I'm going to break down how to start today. And the first station I always start with is based on what the book says to do as well, and that is read to self. We want our students to build their reading stamina to the 15-minute mark. I like to use a stamina building chart, and everything you see in this video today are things that I've created for my classroom, and I'll have links below if you want to grab them. And building stamina is so important in the beginning because our second graders need to get to that 15-minute mark so we know they've mastered that before we can learn any other station. A question I often get asked is, do I start read to self and then I jump to the next station the next day? And the answer is no. Until they have mastered read to self, you do not move on to the next station. So on the stamina building chart, they will love to color in the bar graph and see it climb. And once they get to 15 minutes, then you can introduce the next station. I have other videos though that will help you. I have a read to self specific video, and I have 3 ways to read a book, which many of our second grade students might still need. It's reading the pictures, reading the words, retelling the story. So I'll link those videos below as well so that you can access them if you want to dive more into read to self. After I introduce read to self, work on writing always comes next. And in second grade, that's going to look different for a lot of kids. You might have kids that still are really struggling to write a sentence. Maybe they're even struggling to write a few words. And so I learned over time, in my time in primary grades, you had to have differentiation for work on writing. Work on writing is not your regular writing instruction time. I teach writing at a completely different time. This is writing for enjoyment. This is writing to be creative. And the thing that saved my life for work on writing as a teacher, polling book clubs, was having writing prompts created for my students. And I have those for grades K through 5. First and second grade are very similar, so they're linked together. So if you want to check those out, you can. How I use them and how I would use them in a second grade classroom is you put the choices that they can write about up on the screen. Oftentimes in our primary grades, it's just one writing prompt, so they don't have a lot of confusion on what to do. And they will have a box where they can draw a picture, and then some friends might be able to write on their own independently, and others might need a sentence starter. So I have that all for you in the writing prompts. And you can access them 1 month at a time, or you could buy the whole entire year. So it just depends on what you want for your classroom. If work on writing stresses you out though, I urge you to go in that direction of the writing prompts. It is worth it. Saved me so much over the last few years because you have students that will sit down and they won't do anything, and you'll have kids that are motivated, and you are pulling a group so you don't have time to come over and ensure that they're doing something. But you can do a weekly check-in with work on writing and make sure they're getting their work done. It's a creative, fun time, like I mentioned before, so you don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. You want it to be fun, and the writing prompts are all very fun. Again, with this next station, you are building stamina every time. I have a stamina chart for every station of Daily 5. You can print it on poster maker paper, and you can just color it until they get to the 15-minute mark. Once they have mastered work on writing, then you can move on to one of their favorites, which is listen to reading. Listen to reading is just grabbing an iPad and going to approved websites or links, or apps. So you might have those already put on their iPads, which I usually do. We go over that. We're very explicit with being responsible with technology. I also have a video on YouTube here about listen to reading. I had one on work on writing too. You'll have to check that out. But listen to reading, I talk about how I use Apple Classroom so I can see what my students are on. And then if they're on something they shouldn't be, then I lock them out and there's a consequence that follows. So if that's something that interests you and using a device like that, it's free. You can check out that video to see how it works. So listen to reading, they're going to love, and you just teach responsibility with our digital citizenship and making sure we're making good choices. After listen to reading comes word work. Word work is often one that trips a lot of teachers up because they feel overwhelmed by it. I tie in the word work curriculum that my district uses, which is all science of reading based. They call it word study. You can call it whichever one you want. Word work, word study. I tie that in. There's a lesson every day, and then we go over it in a whole group mini lesson every day, and then they do the independent work that ties back to what they were working on. I have charts for that as well. You're going to want to build the stamina. I also have different ideas for you. If you have no curriculum to go with it, you can check out the word work activities inside of my TPT shop. But just know you can tie your curriculum into it, and it really does help build what they're doing in their small group reading lesson and the whole group reading lesson with you as the teacher. Okay, the next thing I introduce is book club, and this is where I am either working on a specific skill or we're in a leveled group of some sort. The kids are pulled back to my table while everybody else is working independently. I can't introduce this station until my students have shown me they have stamina for all the other ones in the past. So I have a video on book clubs as well, so you can learn more about that. But I would like to say there is a fifth station, and I just don't do this one anymore. When I taught K1, I did it a lot because I had a split level class for a few of those years. And so my first graders could often read to my kindergartners. I just eventually decided that read to someone, read to friend wasn't a good use of their time because sometimes they'll goof off. And so it wasn't worth the management piece. However, I do have a YouTube video on how to implement that. You're going to build stamina with it. It's something you can definitely do. Don't let me talk you out of it if it's what you want to do. All right, well, I hope that gave you a really detailed depiction of what you could be doing for beginning the school year or whatever time of year you're watching this to start Daily 5 in second grade. I have lots of tools for you inside of my TPT shop, and the number one thing that's probably going to help you if you're starting out is I have a Daily 5 toolkit for grades K through 2, and it has everything you need for second grade inside of it, and it's a very helpful bundle of everything that I just talked about. You get everything included inside of it. So that'll be linked below. Make sure you check out the Daily 5 playlist. And what questions do you have about implementing Daily 5 in second grade? I would love to answer your questions. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.